Indeed, a wonderful morning, ladies and gentlemen. Indeed, a pleasure and an honor to be enveloped by luminaries in and around Mangalore and far beyond. With me, the Dean of the HEBIC Institute of Technology, an elite institute. The work that they do is amazing and incredible. To whom does that credit go? Professor Chetan, who is the Dean. Neuro-linguistic program is when you rewire the brain and alter one's direction into a different level. And for that, we have Professor Ramalingam, who is an eminent neuro-linguistic programmer. Now, the Mangalore University is now recognized as a leading light. And in that regard, I was saying luminaries, that is why we are called gurus. Why? Gu means darkness, Ra means light. And when the two join together, light always dispels the darkness and brings in luminaries. And consequently, we are all gurus, I suppose. But in that regard, Mangalore University is now at the very top, primarily by the Vice Chancellor, Professor Yadapadithaya. It is not easy to get a collection of such luminaries, but I had this pleasure this morning by being able to interact with Paul, who is naturally, as you know, a cementing factor for all of us. Now, in that regard, primarily we are here to discuss about the potential for student benefit. And in that regard, I always focus on one book, The Earth is Flat, by Martin Friedman. And Martin Friedman said, you should evolve in such a way that students should be so focused upon, and that I hope and unfortunately is not yet the focus on, in making our students world class. Because what is the best export commodity we can have? What is the greatest revenue earner for India? Foreign direct investment from NRIs. And what is our best export commodity? Wonderful, brilliant, finely tuned boys and girls. If they are at the cutting edge of excellence, the world desires their excellence. So that is something we should have a focus on. In that regard, I will a bit talk about my own children. When they were in the formative years, I didn't, although my wife was focusing on academics and marks, unfortunately today is an era which is mark based. It is not knowledge based. Oh, my son got a distinction or a first class or a rank. And then there are many distinction students who come and I ask a question, Faraday's law, Coulomb's law, Ohm's law, they are blank. Why? Because they are only focusing on their marks. Now come back again. Although my children, my wife was focusing on academics, what I did focus on is perfect, precise English. They had to master one word and then at the end of 1 week, 7 words, and tell me 7 perfect words, diction, delivery, syntax, meaning, spelling. And consequently, it is so sad later on when their entire batch of 300 students went for campus placements, only 10 were selected based on specifically, primarily on their English speaking skills, because these multinational companies felt that their primary request and requirement is they should be able to interact with their overseas clients. And I asked the parent teacher in the Parent Teacher Association meeting, I said, you should have from day one in my school, Bishop Cotton's. I had the distinctive pleasure in studying in an elite school, British teachers, not that we should eulogize them because they ruled India, but still every evening we were taught and tutored on perfect English speaking skills. And if we are not good enough, they will not let us allow outside the campus. So consequently for my own children, and later on it was so sad that many did not, even though they were outstanding students, they did not get picked because they had not focused on English speaking skills. So in that regard, I always enthuse students to really focus on everyday perfect one word. Earlier during my formative years, I used to listen to the Voice of America, and this early morning 4:30 Phil Irwin would come and give the special English news. I would just pick one word, write it in a book and practice that 1,000 times until I am error free. Today, of course, my management, the esteemed AJ Medical College, the chairman, asked me to deliver the initial inaugural address for every year the batch of 150 students that come from all over the world to seek our guidance and enlightenment in the MBBS course. So in that regard, may I ask the luminaries with me to share their thoughts, and beyond that, of course, they must have perfect soft skills on how to interact, how to verbiage, how to walk the talk and talk the walk, how to dress, and a whole lot of soft skills. And beyond that, in my area of medicine, hard skills on how to operate, how to examine a patient, how to use instruments, how to properly use instruments without causing harm. The first dictum in medicine is do no harm. And one day, the other day, I will not name names or colleges, that we have to puncture the sternum to take a biopsy of the marrow when some suspicion is there. So this patient, the student who was doing the marrow, while the guard has to be there, he did not look into that, punctured the marrow, went through and through into the heart, punctured the heart, and the patient died. Who was the patient? The wife of a criminal lawyer. So in life, basically, and especially in the journey in medicine, especially, we need to know what not to do and what precautions to observe. So soft skills, hard skills, communication skills, English are all facets that we must absolutely imbibe in order to make our students world class, so that the world waits for their expertise and grasp them. Look at the major corporations in the world, all headed by Indians. Why? Because Indians have an incredible potential to evolve, grow, and acclimatize them into the corporate ethos of a corporation and eventually take it to the very top. We are privileged to have such luminaries guard, and take these organizations to the very top. The world looks forward to capable Indians to take these organizations to the very top. So, may I have your thoughts also, sir?
Yeah, it is rightly said. Skill development is very, very important because in the higher education institutions, whenever we are trying to impart education to the learners, it should be learner-centric and not the teacher-centric. A real teacher is always a sincere student, because we are wedded to the philosophy of lifelong learning mission, and we are in the world of what you call community of practice. Such being the case, how we are equipping our learners to lead their life in a more meaningful and befitting manner. The point is, it is not the cumulative grade point average, it is not the qualification, but it is the competency which matters a lot. When I say competency, it is made up of 5 critical ingredients: knowledge, attitude, skills, habits, and values. Knowledge, domain specific application oriented knowledge. Theory loaded teaching and kind of curriculum framework which will test the students within 3 hours duration of examination, and papers will be evaluated and they are declared successful in the examination, and in the convocation they will be awarded degrees and all. It becomes totally ritualistic, and the students will embrace what you call memory based rote learning. The National Education Policy 2020 talks about say no to memory based rote learning. What is required is experiential learning. I can recall David Kolb's experiential learning cycle of 1970s. It holds water even today, and because in that experiential learning cycle, it's a virtuous cycle. It says whatever you get experience, it should be concretized. So the first stage is concrete experience. Immediately the next step is reflective observation. Whether the learner is engaging himself or herself in a reflective observation, application of mind, questioning mindset. That's very, very important. Reflective observation. Then the third one is abstract conceptualization, because you have got a stored memory called backup files because of past experience or previous incidents or happenings or occurrences. Based on that, the new input which entered into the human mind will have to be included to the backup files, so that you will give meaning to it and you will call it a reality. So what comes to your mind immediately need not be a reality, it becomes only a perception, then there will be a thought process, then emotions or feelings, then action tendencies. All these will formulate what you call our attitude. It may be enthusiastic attitude or indifferent attitude, positive attitude or negative attitude, sometimes even it could be hostile attitude. So this kind of layers will constitute the attitude. Then finally our actions. Actions should always speak louder than words, because normally there is a saying, an inch of practice is always better than a ton of theory. Whether our students after acquiring their educational qualifications will be in a position to walk the talk? Mostly not, because they don't know how to honor their own words at a higher price. This merely lack of transactional commitment and ability to transform theory into practice. Understand and appreciate the ground level realities, so that they will rise to the occasion and make things happen. I have come across 5 categories of students in the education system. The first category, those students who can make things happen. They are called powerful performers. They are called super keepers. They will always exceed the expectations of the authorities or the teachers or the administrators. The second category, those students who think that they make things happen. Thinking is not doing. So they must be able to translate their thought process into actions. The third category, those students who watch things happening, because they are called sightseeing category. Oh, others are coming up, or others are doing extremely well, exceedingly well. So it means normally here the medicine for this kind of disease is stop worrying about others and start thinking about yourself. You must engage in a process called soul searching. What am and what I am up to? How far I have become successful? Enemy always lies within. Fourth category is those students who wonder what had happened. It's amazing, it's incredible here, and the next door neighbor, that son, he got this much of marks and this many accolades and all those things. Really great and all those things. But that will not take you anywhere. You should be just like a gushing river, you should not suffer from stagnation. You have to disturb the status quo and do something new. But this is holding you back, and it will also develop certain mental blocks, and there will be a kind of life script written by you only. It cannot be done, so I will not do it. Instead of that, if you rewrite your life script saying that, I can do it, so I will do it. That requires a kind of courage, confidence and conviction. So the last category, those students who did not even know what had happened, called sleeping giants, Kumbhakarnas. So wherever you are and whatever you are as a student, you must come and occupy the first position, making things happen. So this kind of thing, is very, very important, and the current educational scenario must inject three important C's. The first one is courage to fail. Unless you fail, you will not be able to make things happen. So internally, you must be in a position to rise to the occasion, and it is possible only when you have got a courage to fail. Then second one is confidence to win. I can, so I will. A kind of mental preparedness. Because everything will be created twice in this world. First in your mind, next in the physical world. That's what Stephen R. Covey said in his book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I really appreciate that. The third C is nothing but conviction to succeed. Because you are convinced that it is the right way of doing it. So I am doing it. It means you are not doing it out of compulsion. If you are doing it out of coercion or compulsion, quality will suffer. Therefore, it is not just involvement, but it's also important what you call commitment should be there. Otherwise, you will throw the baby along with bathwater. You retain the tub and the baby, throw only the wastewater. So this way, we must succeed in making our education meaningful. Ultimately, National Education Policy 2020 is focusing on total well-being of a student or a learner on 5 dimensions: physical, mental, intellectual, social and spiritual. Here when I say spiritual, it is not visiting the place of worship 10 times a day. According to Swami Vivekananda, spirituality is nothing but the science of human excellence. We must be able to unleash the potential within every student. Then only you will become a successful teacher. That's my observation, sir.
Well said. It is indeed an eye-opener what you have said just now. So may I ask, sir?